Well, joining us now, David Strom, associate editor over at Hot Air, to assess what's going on. Hey, David, good to have you back with us, sir.
You know, I have to admit, I'm getting a little tired of all this winning.
It's tiring you out? You're exhausted. You're tuckered out at this point.
Oh, I used to laugh when, I heard Trump say that. And now, I mean, obviously, I'm not tired of the winning, but, doesn't it feel like it's been 8 months since Trump got into office, and we're just 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks into it? It's just staggering. And
yes.
The thing that is so striking to me, in fact, I wrote a piece this morning that was titled "I Was Wrong About Trump." I voted for Trump. I like Trump, but I didn't think that he had a plan to dismantle the deep state. In his first term, it ended in 2020 when the deep state seemed to win.
Yes.
But now he's come back stronger than ever.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm just so eager to talk about what you're discussing here, because I think back to the primary phase. And I don't know if you mentioned it before. Did you support Ron DeSantis in the primary? Did you?
Absolutely.
And so the theory of DeSantis being the best candidate was that, Trump was the wrecking ball, but DeSantis is the scalpel. DeSantis will be the precision. He'll be able to target things in a precise way and take them down. And it turns out that Trump is launching, he's blotting out the sun with the number of arrows he's firing at the same time, and they're all hitting precision targets. It is really amazing to watch.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a fleet of B-2 bombers, with JDAMs. They're just exploding everywhere. The Democrats, not only do they not know how to respond except with lawfare, most of which I don't think is going to actually help them out, and some of it, if Trump wins, is going to empower him even more. Democrats have overreached there. But he's actually going after, as Halperin says, all the centers of power, including something that he did not mention, which is, probably $1 trillion a year that the Democrats pour into all their, elite plans. That's going to be gone.
Yeah, no, we're watching something really epic happening right now, and my hope is that what we do is just destroy that party entirely. Like, how do we make sure that they never come back? I mean, first of all, just in terms of like American history and things that are worth dispensing with, the brand Democrat is about as atrocious as anything has ever been. So why don't you just retire that party entirely? And then, if there's some division of opinion within the Republican Party, then we can split up into our relative camps and battle it out and try and make the country better. What do you think?
Oh, I love that idea. I mean, I think we need to have alternative parties, because if you look at states like Utah, for instance, which are run exclusively by Republicans, eventually you develop a swamp among Republicans.
Exactly.
Unaccountable parties, no matter whether they have the right ideology or the bad ideology,
right,
eventually become rotten. And that's what, Trump came in, and the first place he dropped a nuclear bomb was on the Republican Party.
Yep.
And he cleared out a lot of not just deadwood, but people who were themselves part of the deep state.
Let me go to some polling that I think is fascinating here. Patrick Ruffini at Echelon Insights shares this image of a survey done this week showing that among Democrat primary voters, they're being asked right now, if the 2028 Democrat primary were held today, for whom would you vote? Now, the top two are Kamala Harris at 36%, which is hilarious to me, and I hope they go with that, and Pete Buttigieg at 10%. Those are the two. Now, meanwhile, one of the standouts in this list that people may not have expected is Jasmine Crockett comes in. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett comes in at 2% support, but that's ahead of John Fetterman, Cory Booker, J.B. Pritzker, Raphael Warnock, Jared Polis, Andy Beshear. This is a party, David Strom, that hasn't learned any lessons.
Oh no, there's clearly a group out there that has decided that the thing to do is move harder left, and there are Democrats out there who sell themselves as moderates, like say Maura Healey, who's the governor of Massachusetts, who is out there pursuing policies that literally they are letting child rapists out of prison because they're illegal immigrants and they don't want the feds to deport them. It is insane. And, they're fighting over the gender affirming care, so-called, and, they're just picking the hardest left policies. And most of those other people that you mentioned, like Fetterman or Polis, they sell themselves or even are moderates, but that's why they're at the bottom.
Mm-hmm. I've got some James Carville audio for you. Can't ever pass up James Carville audio. I love that.
Yeah.
So we know him normally as the Raging Cajun, but right now he's the reeling Cajun because he doesn't know what to do. He's just on his heels, and he's upset that his life's work is in tatters at the moment.
The point is we have these conversations. We talk to people on the phone. We go to cocktail parties and dinners, and we have things. When you sit back and see, when you take it one by one, it's so much crazier than you can imagine that we're having this discussion. And one of the dangers that we have is we just become like, it just becomes elevator music or something.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you accentuate it. Do you oppose one thing? Do you oppose all five? Is it a personnel issue? Is it a policy issue? Maybe some of our I'm struggling here a little bit, so maybe some of our really smart viewers can help us untangle a little bit. It's really tangled now because no one knows where to land. It's all too incomprehensible.
So this guy, his career is that he's the genius who comes up with a pithy way in order to respond to Republicans and defeat them. He's completely overwhelmed, David Strom. He doesn't know what to do in this moment.
Well, one of the things that animates the political pros in the Democratic Party that they firmly believe in is that controlling the narrative is everything. And they have been exceptional at that because they had all the levers of cultural power out there. And you went through them: Hollywood, the mainstream media, social media, censorship organizations, and all of that has collapsed. And, one of the striking things is they go out and they go to the bat for USAID, which is, horribly unpopular. They're going to the wall on this, and they're doing it at the same time that Elon Musk and Donald Trump are getting out all the horrible things. Everyone thinks it's rice, beans, and medicine, and that's 10% of it. The rest is censorship, regime change, transgender ideology, funding independent journalists that happen to be funded by the U.S. government, including, one organization laid the predicate for the second Donald Trump impeachment.
Yeah.
And so people look at that and they say, this is what you're defending? You're insane.
Yeah. So do you predict any sort of change in strategy? I mean, or does some adult come out in that party and all of a sudden just kind of, grab the reins and start dominating? Because I'm not seeing it happen in the House. I'm not seeing it happen in the Senate. There's certainly no realistic presidential candidate that's stuck their head up just yet. Does Gavin Newsom come flying in and pretend like he's the leader of the party? What happens here?
Well, clearly he's going to try to do that. He's been thinking of running for president forever. He's been plotting it since he was mayor of San Francisco. But again, that appeals to maybe 30% the hardcore Democrats. But it's certainly not going to bring in any swing voters, especially when you look at his record,
Right.
which is atrocious. I don't know whether you have the Dean Phillips clip where he's talking about how the Democrats are just absolutely blowing it. They ought to be jumping on the bandwagon to clean up government, but instead they're out there arguing for all the worst things. And we know,
unfortunately, Democrats are only focused on one thing right now, Mr. Musk. The fact of the matter, he's quite popular. He has the largest platform in human history, which is, of course, Twitter/X. And I think we're missing the boat as Democrats. And all I'm saying is that sometimes it's better to join them and actually play a role in how the strategy works, rather than so pathetically, frankly, try to combat something that clearly is a steamroller, and Democrats are being steamrolled.
So his view is, if you can't beat them, join them. Why aren't we doing that? And I don't see Democrats doing it. They're too far dug in.
Oh, well, yeah, and I don't think they can, actually. I wrote about him, about how charmingly naive he is, because this isn't about defending bureaucrats or liberal ideology or anything like that. All this money, hundreds of billions of dollars a year, is what funds their project.
Yes.
Everything. And so they need that. They cannot, they will, it's an existential threat to them. I mean, they're funding the World Economic Forum. They're funding, every single think tank. Almost every foreign journalist is on the take. We were funding the BBC. So all this propaganda, the censorship organizations, they can't let that go, because if it goes away, people will see. The Truman Show will be broken.
And it's so amazing, I guess rightfully so, but it's made everyone so cynical, hasn't it, David? Like what you just described. Oh, we're funding Reuters, we're funding Politico, we're funding the BBC, the federal government was paying for all of this. And it's just like the list goes on and on and on. And, a decade ago, if you start saying stuff like this, people kind of instinctively, reflexively laugh you out of the room. Okay, that guy's not serious. Let's go. Let's find somebody who's serious here. Now it's made us all so cynical. We're like, wait a second. So many of the most conspiratorial concepts you could possibly have about the behavior of your government, they just keep routinely coming true. And Washington is sitting here going, well, why do they hate us? Why don't they trust us? Why don't they listen to us? And the answer lies in the fact that every day there is some new scandal and some new confirmation that our worst fears are all being realized.
Yeah, when you see a memo from Anthony Blinken to Hillary Clinton talking about how Al-Qaeda is on our side, it's like, what universe is this?
Yeah.
I mean, these people are evil. And the problem is that, those of us who are patriotic don't want to believe that anyone who got elected could be that evil. Mm-hmm. But what makes America great is not our politicians. It's not even the government that we have. It's the ideas that are in the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, and the people of the country. And the people have to take it back.
I think they're undergoing that right now. David Strom at Hot Air. Thank you, sir, as always. Great to talk to you today. Have a great weekend.